Chapter 61 Xiao Xiao, Wang Dong, how about we change our hair color? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Faced with Wang Dong's questioning and the teacher on the side, Ma Xiaotao's shame burst out. Her jade face was immediately stained with a bright red glow, her cheeks were burning, she lowered her eyes, and lowered her voice and said, "My junior, I have soiled your bedding, I can compensate you." Ma Xiaotao's slender jade hand flashed with light, and a black card was clamped between her fingertips and handed to Wang Dong. There are 5,000 gold soul coins in this card. Wang Dong had a cold face and didn't even look at the black card. He said coldly, "I don't need it." Xiao Xiao looked at Wang Dong so angry, ashamed, bitter, and resentful. When she thought of the senior sister who suddenly changed her clothes and looked as beautiful as a peach, and Wang Dong's disappeared bedding, she guessed what happened between Huo Yuhao and Ma Xiaotao. Xiao Xiao widened her green starry eyes, she was shocked by her own guess. At the same time, a strange feeling surged in her heart, which was a complex mood she had never had before. But Wang Dong's experience made her feel full of sympathy for her, and at the same time she felt a little amused. This feeling suppressed the strange feeling in her heart. Xiao Xiao felt that Wang Dong was really miserable. In her own dormitory, on her own bed, the person she liked was taken away by others, and she had to wait quietly for the two of them in a place separated by a door. Xiao Xiao's eyes moved, and she was full of sympathy for Wang Dong. "Wang Dong, why don't you dye your hair the same color as mine?" Yan Xiaozhe saw that the disciple who had just suffered a great injustice was still being questioned by a freshman, and his already unhappy mood became even more gloomy. He stepped forward, took the black card from the disciple, stood between Wang Dong and Ma Xiaotao, and said lightly, "This classmate, you should know when to stop when you are ahead. It's just a quilt. 5,000 gold soul coins are definitely enough to compensate for your loss." Yan Xiaozhe handed the black card in his hand to Wang Dong. His originally plain, gentle and amiable image suddenly changed, and his fierce momentum pressed towards Wang Dong. He had a faint smile, but his eyes were calm. Wang Dong gritted his teeth to resist the pressure of this momentum, glaring at Yan Xiaozhe stubbornly. Without even looking at the black card, Yan Xiaozhe continued to increase his momentum, and sweat dripped from Wang Dong's forehead, gritting his teeth to support, almost reaching the limit. Wang Dong's light goddess butterfly possessed him, and the shining and beautiful butterfly wings spread out, emitting a brilliant brilliance. Wang Dong suddenly felt much more relaxed, but Yan Xiaozhe and Ma Xiaotao's eyes flashed with unpredictable meaning. "So that's it, this is a little girl dressed as a man." Yan Xiaozhe's anger towards Huo Yuhao was filled a little more. "It's not enough to have my disciple, and you still play the golden house and hide a beauty in school, right? I promise that you won't have a good time in the future." Ma Xiaotao's peach eyes looked up and down at Wang Dong. Short pink and blue hair, big eyes of the same color, starry, full of anger and stubbornness, handsome face, pretty face with frost, and a pair of long legs that exceeded the proportion. If she were to dress in women's clothes again, she would probably be another rare beauty. No wonder Huo Yuhao couldn't leave her behind. Ma Xiaotao's red lips curled up, and her phoenix eyes slightly raised. She didn't find the hostility and bitterness of her rival in her heart. Instead, she felt a sense of excitement and pleasure. She didn't expect that her first time with a little man would be on her rival's bed. This was really interesting. Especially the other party's expression of wanting to eat her. The more Ma Xiaotao wanted to see her and Huo Yuhao being intimate while the other party could only watch with gritted teeth. After confirming that Wang Dong was her rival, Ma Xiaotao's shame gradually disappeared, and she no longer felt sorry for her. She watched the teacher oppress the little girl with her momentum, and her charming and moist phoenix eyes revealed an interesting meaning. Wang Dong's forehead was sweating, but she gritted her teeth and refused to admit defeat. Where had she suffered such grievances since she was a child? The pride in her heart did not allow her to endure the oppression of the enemy after suffering such grievances. That's right, at this moment, Yan Xiaozhe and Ma Xiaotao have risen to the level of enemies in Wang Dong's heart. Who said that rivals in love are not enemies? If Wang Dong still holds the idea that I am not here to destroy you, I am here to join you when facing Jiang Nan and Tanya, then when facing Ma Xiaotao, it is either me or her, either she or either she or me. Seeing that Wang Dong is about to reach her limit again, Xiao Xiao, who looks petite and weak, walks to her side with a firm look, operates her soul power, and shares some of the pressure for Wang Dong. The little girl is soft on the outside and strong on the inside. When her friends are in danger, she is more willing to help her friends in the same boat, rather than to protect herself. In an instant, her martial soul Sanqing Huan Ding was released, and then a green jade flute appeared in her hand, helping her relieve the pressure. Wang Dong was also much more relaxed, but as time went on, she reached her limit again. A small black hammer emerged from her left hand, which once again helped her relieve the pressure. Twin martial souls, or two. Yan Xiaozhe and Ma Xiaotao were surprised. They didn't expect that Wang Dong and Xiao Xiao both had twin martial spirits, and Wang Dong was from the Haotian sect, genius. Yan Xiaozhe's heart moved slightly. This class of freshmen was the best class that Shrek had recruited in the past few decades or hundreds of years. There were several soul masters, as well as Huo Yuhao, that boy with extremely strong mental power, and these two geniuses with twin martial spirits. Yan Xiaozhe felt that the martial spirit system was promising, but even so, Yan Xiaozhe had no intention of letting the two go. The disciple was wronged, and even if he was a genius, he had to be dealt with. These two people were also closely related to that boy. At this time, Huo Yuhao also cleaned up all the traces in the dormitory, walked out of the dormitory, and came to Wang Dong and Xiao Xiao. The sudden increase in pressure made him feel that it was difficult to breathe. He pursed his lips, calmed his breath, and then said in a deep voice, "The dean must have a reason for making things difficult for them. Otherwise, as the dean of Shrek Academy and a disciple of His Majesty the Dragon God, bullying a few freshmen who have just entered Shrek Academy is not only embarrassing yourself, but also discrediting Shrek Academy and His Majesty the Dragon God." Huo Yuhao emphasized Dragon God Douluo One because this is the freshman dormitory. According to the pastime, this old man would have been lying in front of the freshman dormitory to bask in the sun. Yan Xiaozhe snorted lightly, and considering the teacher, he still restrained the pressure on Wang Dong and Xiao Xiao. But the pressure on Huo Yuhao increased again. Huo Yuhao snorted, gritted his teeth and held on. Seeing this, Yan Xiaozhe finally felt a little happy in his eyes, and said coldly, "Boy, I believe I don't need to say more about the reason why I made things difficult for you." Huo Yuhao gritted his teeth, and beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. He closed his eyes and used all his soul power to resist the pressure. Yan Xiaozhe saw that the boy in front of him looked like he didn't take him seriously, so he increased the pressure again. Huo Yuhao bent his body for a moment, and then he gritted his teeth and slowly straightened up. At this moment, in his body, as the pressure increased, a pink energy slowly seeped out from his limbs and bones, wandering around his body, slowly strengthening and transforming his body. Under the infiltration of this energy, the clear and transparent gold of his martial soul eyes slowly turned pink, but Huo Yuhao closed his eyes tightly, and no one noticed this change. Huo Yuhao's mind had already entered the sea of spirit at this time. He found that the originally pure lake surface of his sea of spirit, which was shining with golden light, was actually pink and gold at this moment, like a pure lake surface reflected by red clouds. Chapter 62 Harvest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Huo Yuhao mobilized the changed mental power, entangled his fingertips, and carefully felt the changes in mental power. The pink mental power exuded a faint charm that seduced people's minds and aroused people's desires, which was the same as the charm of the succubus body. Huo Yuhao's face was strange. He didn't expect that the succubus body would actually be infiltrated into the spiritual sea. Maybe it was because the spiritual sea located at the center of the eyebrows was originally a part of the physique. However, I don't know how strong the charm of his mental power is. How will he perform mental detection sharing in the future? Will the mental power be connected to female teammates, which is equivalent to giving his teammates a strong control? Once connected to male teammates, their orientation will change after a battle. Also, will he use mental power to impact the spiritual sea of female soul masters in the future be considered an attack or a reward? This ability is really weird. At this time, Huo Yuhao already felt that the disadvantages of the charm body ability far outweighed the benefits. Fortunately, it only takes 1 month. After solidification, he can turn off the charm ability of the succubus body at any time. Even if it is not solidified successfully, the charm power will disappear as the succubus body is refreshed. Huo Yuhao slowly controlled the spiritual power at his fingertips, trying to control a trace of charm power in it. He frowned and lowered his eyes, and finally, the spiritual power at his fingertips restored the pure light gold color. Huo Yuhao's eyebrows and eyes relaxed. As long as he could purify the first spiritual power, it would be much easier to purify other spiritual powers in the future. He could purify and use them when needed. Huo Yuhao's mind returned to his body, and Yan Xiaoxia's pressure was much easier, and the heat flowing in his body disappeared. Huo Yuhao opened his eyes, and the golden light in his eyes disappeared. There was a trace of pink in his eyes, like a misty veil, adding a touch of charm and mystery to Huo Yuhao's temperament. The change in Huo Yuhao's temperament naturally attracted the attention of several people present, especially the three women Wang Dong'er, Xiao Xiao and Ma Xiaotao. When they saw Huo Yuhao at this moment, especially his eyes, they couldn't help but feel a throbbing in their hearts. The deep, gorgeous, and mysterious eyes made their minds unable to help but fall into them. Yan Xiaoxia narrowed his eyes and asked tentatively, "Boy, is your body spirit awakened for the second time?" That if it is the second awakening of the body spirit, then he will tie Huo Yuhao to death in the academy no matter what, which will not only allow Shrek to spy on the secret of the second awakening of the body spirit, but also gain a top powerhouse for the academy. Huo Yuhao shook his head and chuckled, "No, but it is also a huge gain. This is thanks to Dean Yan's cultivation and dedication." Hearing Huo Yuhao's ridicule, Yan Xiaoxia almost vomited blood, his face darkened again, and his anger in his heart became stronger. He said with a fake smile, "Guiding students is what I, the dean, should do. Since what I do is good for you, let's continue." He didn't believe that he, Huo Yuhao, could grow in strength again today. "Teacher, that's enough." Ma Xiaotao, who was standing by, couldn't help but say when she saw Yan Xiaoxia was still trying to embarrass Huo Yuhao. Her charming narrow eyes were covered with a layer of frost, her eyebrows were upturned, her pretty face was frosty, and she said softly, "Teacher, this is a matter between me and my junior, and he is also the one I have chosen. Teacher, you can help me examine him, but if you want to embarrass him deliberately, I won't agree." Yan Xiaoxia didn't expect that this little cotton-padded jacket had not yet married, but his elbow had already turned outward. Why did he embarrass this kid? It was for Ma Xiaotao. After all, this kid took advantage of the situation. The two had a relationship before they got along. He was afraid that his disciple would be looked down upon, so he had to embarrass this kid so that he could pay attention to Ma Xiaotao. Although he also had the factor of venting his unhappy emotions, he was also for Ma Xiaotao. Yan Xiaoxia said angrily, "Do you know that this guy took advantage of your unconsciousness to sneak in? If you don't punish him properly, how can he treat you well?" Ma Xiaotao saw that the teacher was angry, and her momentum weakened, but she still whispered, "It was the disciple who forced him, not him who took advantage of the situation. Anyway, teacher, don't worry about the two of us. He told me that he would get along well with me and cultivate feelings." Yan Xiaoxia was about to say something, and then he heard a vicissitudes of life voice, "Xiaoxia, let the children solve their emotional problems by themselves, and you don't have to get involved. Give some compensation to the little guys for today's matter, and then go back." Yan Xiaoxia, Huo Yuhao and others were stunned when they heard the voice. Yan Xiaoxia bowed respectfully and said, "Disciple knows." Yan Xiaoxia took out 3 jade bottles from the soul guide and threw them to Huo Yuhao, Wang Dong'er, and Xiao Xiao with a cold face. "Don't tell others about today's matter, remember." Huo Yuhao and the other two took the jade bottles. Yan Xiaoxia turned to Ma Xiaotao and said, "I will not interfere with your affairs in the future. You should still focus on cultivation in the future. Return to the inner courtyard as soon as possible." After saying that, Yan Xiaoxia left. At the door of the freshman dormitory, Mu Wen still looked old and half asleep. He saw Yan Xiaoxia leaving through his eyes. Mu Wen shook his head and sighed in his heart. Yan Xiaoxia, this disciple, has top talent, but he is narrow-minded, indecisive, and hesitant. He didn't even deal with his own emotional problems, which caused his cultivation to be stuck at level 95 for decades. He still interfered with the emotional problems of the younger generation. Originally, he wanted to accept Huo Yuhao as his disciple, but today he found that the disciple he had scheduled was actually downgraded to the generation of his disciple's grandson. Alas! Muwen was worried about the future of Shrek Academy. After Yan Xiaozhou left, Ma Xiaotao walked lightly to Huo Yuhao's side, held his hand with hers, her beautiful eyes were rippling, and she smiled. She whispered, "Little brother, this handsome boy doesn't seem to want to accept my compensation. Otherwise, you can take these 5,000 gold soul coins and help me buy her a new set of bedding. As my husband, you should help me compensate outsiders, right?" Ma Xiaotao hugged Huo Yuhao, her beautiful eyes were smiling, and she looked at Wang Dong and Xiao Xiao. Seeing the anger and resentment in Wang Dong's eyes, she raised her eyebrows, and hugged Huo Yuhao tighter with her arms, squeezing his plump figure. Huo Yuhao broke away from the soft touch and said helplessly, "Sister Xiaotao, please don't mention this anymore. I will take care of it." Ma Xiaotao nodded and said, "In that case, I will leave first. Remember to be free on weekends, and I will take you to the inner courtyard. Cultivate the relationship." Ma Xiaotao paused, and looked at Wang Dong, who looked like a bully, and her mood became much brighter. Huo Yuhao agreed. "Junior brothers and sisters, sister is leaving," Ma Xiaotao said casually, and turned to leave. After Ma Xiaotao left, Wang Dong turned into the dormitory with a cold face and slammed the door. Huo Yuhao sighed. It seems that he has to coax Wang Dong well. Chapter 63 New Class Teacher. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Xiao bit her lip, and there was hesitation in her beautiful emerald green eyes. After a moment of hesitation, she still asked softly, "Monitor, are you and that senior sister together?" Huo Yuhao looked at Xiao Xiao, who had a delicate body and a clear face. An uneasy look appeared in her shining eyes, and he said warmly, "Well, we are together now." "What's wrong, Xiao Xiao?" "Then what are you going to do, Sister Nan Nan and the others?" The little girl looked worried. "Of course, I want them all." Huo Yuhao stretched out his hand to ruffle Xiao Xiao's hair. Considering her succubus body, he paused and patted her shoulder gently. "The beauty is so kind to me, I can't live up to any of it." Xiao Xiao's picturesque eyebrows were curved, and there was joy in her tone. She thought this was good. But she still complained, "That squad leader, you are really greedy." Huo Yuhao said softly, "If I miss a girl like you, Xiao Xiao, I will regret it for the rest of my life, so of course I have to be greedy." Xiao Xiao suddenly felt his heart pounding, almost to the point of his throat, and his cheeks were as red as blood. Holding the green ponytail nervously with both hands, she turned her head to the side with a shy face and lowered her eyes, just like the gentleness of the jasper weeping willow that cannot be overcome by the spring breeze. Because it was almost noon, Huo Yuhao simply skipped the morning class. Wang Dong was so aggrieved and sobbed in the dormitory for a long time that he even threw away all the pills that Yan Xiaozhou had compensated. It wasn't until he heard Huo Yuhao talking about the Chinese-style soul-raising pill in the jade bottle that he picked it up again with red eyes and viciously threw it away. After taking the elixir, he started practicing cross-legged. The girl now also knows the importance of cultivation. If she had better cultivation, she would still have to suffer this kind of injustice today. The soul ascension pill can allow soul masters below level 30 to advance to at least one level. A person can only take one pill in his life. Huo Yuhao is not in a hurry to take the soul ascension pill. His soul power is currently stuck at level 20 and his soul ring is no longer available. Eager to hunt, he first had to find a way to get an ice attribute martial spirit. Without Tianmeng, it would be a bit difficult to find the Ice Emperor. We can only wait and see what abilities will be refreshed next, and then make plans. When Huo Yuhao and the other three came to the classroom in the afternoon, they learned that their first-class teacher had been replaced by Wang Yan. Huo Yuhao had a general impression of Wang Yan in the original work. He was a gentle, knowledgeable scholar who was willing to immerse himself in research, rather than a false master like Yu Shaojiang who plagiarized and summarized common sense and then published it. There are some dark spots in Wang Yan's original work. He was the one who encouraged Huo Yuhao to help Shrek Academy cheat. Of course, what impressed Huo Yuhao the most was that Wang Yan finally embraced the beauty and married a senior from the inner courtyard named Han Ruoruo, the winner in life, teacher Wang Yan. But Huo Yuhao is not envious because he has won several times now. The college's punishment for Zhou Yi was not serious. In addition to removing her from her position as head teacher of the freshman class, she was also temporarily demoted from her intermediate teacher title. She will continue to stay in the freshman class to assist Wang Yan in teaching. Her professional title will be restored only after the college confirms that she has reformed. In addition, after his battle with Su Sancher, two people suddenly became popular in the academy. One was him, and the other was not Su Sancher, but Zhou Yi. I heard that this morning there was a desperate senior who also wanted to fight to become famous and challenged Zhou Yi, but was beaten by Zhou Yi and laid in the infirmary. Oh. I heard from the students in class 9 next door that their class teacher Mu Jin was beaming with joy all morning. She even went to watch the competition between Zhou Yi and the ignorant senior, and she almost had gloating written all over her face. I don't know what kind of grudge their class teacher has with Zhou Yi. I guess they stole it from the man, and their class teacher is still a loser. Therefore, the students of Class 9 were holding back their energy and threatened to defeat Class 1 in the freshman assessment and avenge their class teacher's defeat. This news has spread to all freshman classes, is spreading to the upperclassmen, and has the potential to spread to the entire school. Huo Yuhao felt that Mu Jin, the head teacher of Class 9, could not help but thank these good students and wish them good luck. In addition, what else was born today is the campus legend that as long as you get up early enough, there will be a red-haired evil spirit in the college who will catch you and eat you. Since the teacher explicitly prohibited the spread of this news, the students only it can be spread quietly, and you don't know whether the news is true or false. Huo Yuhao used his personal experience to prove that this news is true, but this kind of eating is not serious eating. After the afternoon class, Huo Yuhao was called to the office by Wang Yan. Wang Yan is about 40 years old and has an ordinary appearance, but he has a gentle temperament. He observed the student in front of him who was famous among both teachers and students. Some say he is disobedient to discipline, some say he unites his classmates, some say he is arrogant and disrespectful, while others say he is helpful and courageous, but Wang Yan didn't care about the two evaluations. Other people's evaluations are all reference. He believes in what he sees with his own eyes and what he has experienced. He is a pragmatic person. Hello, classmate Huo Yuhao, my name is Wang Yan, and I will be the class teacher of the freshman class. You didn't come this morning, so the teacher came to see you specifically. He wanted to get to know the class monitor of our class and introduce us to our class. Wang Yan smiled elegantly. Huo Yuhao was also very curious about the new teacher and secretly observed Wang Yan. Hello, teacher. Dean Yan was looking for me and Wang Dong'er this morning, so I didn't have time to ask for leave. Sorry, teacher, I will pay attention next time. Next, Huo Yuhao gave Wang Yan a brief summary of what he had observed about the students in the first class of freshmen in the past 2 days. Wang Yan was a little surprised. He didn't expect Huo Yuhao to be able to observe the situation of his classmates so clearly in just 1 day. Wang Yan wrote down the situation of each student one by one for reference. After the discussion, Wang Yan nodded, smiled slightly, and asked curiously, Huo Yuhao, I heard from my classmates that you told them yesterday why exercise can improve physical fitness. What you said made sense. I went there specially at noon. I checked in the school library and found that this theory has been proposed before, but unfortunately no one paid attention to it, alas. Huo Yuhao said calmly, after all, Shrek has a history of 10,000 years and is still the center of the Soul Master world. There are endless powerful seniors. It is not surprising that someone can think of this. But if such a theory cannot be carried forward, it will be the same as nothing. Only when knowledge creates value can it itself have value. Wang Yan nodded seriously and said with a sigh, Classmate Huo Yuhao, you are right. I only hope that I can discover more such treasures in my life, and then carry them forward and let them show their true colors. The value it deserves. Teacher, you can definitely do it. Huo Yuhao affirmed. Huo Yuhao admired people like Wang Yan who had firm beliefs and were willing to spend his whole life to put them into practice. He may not be such a person himself, but he hopes there are more such people. Sorry, I felt a little emotional for a moment. Wang Yan smiled apologetically and continued, I also heard from my classmates that you also taught the students a set of movements, and later you will teach them other movements to specifically exercise various parts of the body. Classmate Huo Yuhao, I'd like to ask abruptly, can you teach me these moves? I don't mean to pry into your exercise methods, but as a teacher, I must know in advance whether these exercise programs are beneficial or unhelpful for students, and whether students should learn them. I will find someone to test you for each exercise. Exercise situation. Huo Yuhao nodded, expressing his understanding of Wang Yan's approach. If he were a teacher, he would not allow anyone to teach his students casually. Wang Yan would also carefully find someone to test the students' content. It can be said that he is very serious and responsible. Huo Yuhao decided to teach Wang Yan the exercise method first. After all, some exercises require special equipment, which required Wang Yan to find Shrek Academy to allocate funds to build it. After teaching Wang Yan all the movements and drawing the training equipment and asking Wang Yan to build it, Huo Yuhao returned to the dormitory. Chapter 64 Plan to complete the solidification task. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was the weekend in a blink of an eye. Today was the time for Ma Xiaotao and I to go to the inner courtyard, and Huo Yuhao also decided to take this opportunity to complete the solidification task of the succubus body, wanting to see what changes would happen after this ability was completely solidified. Huo Yuhao looked at the solidification task panel. Soul Master, Xiao Yu, Great Soul Master, Wang Dong'er, Soul Master, Tangya, Soul Sect, Unfinished, Soul King, Unfinished, Soul Emperor, Ma Xiaotao, Soul Saint, Unfinished. Soul Douluo, Du Weiluan, Title Douluo, Moon. Only Soul Sect, Soul King, and Soul Saint had not completed the solidification task, and there were many people with these three levels of cultivation in the inner courtyard. Huo Yuhao completed the solidification task of the Soul Master this week. He didn't expect that there was also a talent in the class. This one-ring Soul Master named Xiao Yu firmly embarked on the path of pursuing true love. Huo Yuhao certainly couldn't bear to see his classmates go down the wrong path. Even if he was crooked, he had to straighten him. So Huo Yuhao found an opportunity to contact him for 30 seconds, hoping to change his orientation. He regarded this as a good deed. Non-inner courtyard personnel need to apply to the academy and be led by inner courtyard personnel to enter the inner courtyard, so Huo Yuhao practiced at ease at the agreed place on the shore of the sea god lake, waiting for Ma Xiaotao. Not long after, he saw a fiery red figure running on the clear lake. Her jade feet lightly touched the water surface, causing ripples, but her figure floated forward rapidly with this insignificant buoyancy, and soon arrived in front of Huo Yuhao. Sister Xiaotao. Huo Yuhao looked at the plump, beautiful, charming and seductive beauty in front of him and called out. Ma Xiaotao's cold and beautiful phoenix eyes were like ice and snow melting, moistened with a layer of water, and a surge of joy surged in her heart. In the past few days, she has been thinking about the boy in front of her, worried about gains and losses, happy or sad. At this moment, she met him, but only the joyful mood was like a gurgling spring that soaked her whole heart. Ma Xiaotao nodded and said, let's go to the inner courtyard. I'll take you with me. Then the girl picked up Huo Yuhao without saying anything and ran on the water again. Ma Xiaotao lowered her head and glanced at Huo Yuhao. Today was also her first date, and she was looking forward to it. Looking at Huo Yuhao's bright eyes, his eyes seemed to be shrouded in pink mist, mysterious and charming, which made Ma Xiaotao stunned. She subconsciously reached out and touched Huo Yuhao's eyes. Don't. Huo Yuhao turned his head to dodge, but the girl's chest was a bit crowded. He couldn't dodge in time, and was touched by the slender hand. A familiar feeling surged into Ma Xiaotao's heart, and her soul power was suddenly messed up. She staggered and fell into the sea god lake with a plop. After choking on the water a few times, Huo Yuhao hurriedly kicked the water hard, hugged Ma Xiaotao with his backhand, and took her to the surface of the water. Although Ma Xiaotao was still a little weak, she recovered quickly under the threat of drowning and quickly followed Huo Yuhao's movements to the surface. Her pretty face was flushed, and water drops slid down her beautiful face. Her smooth skin, like white jade, was shining with water. like a lotus emerging from the water. The red dress was tightly attached to her body, revealing her proud figure. Huo Yuhao was stunned when he suddenly saw such a voluptuous scenery, but he quickly reacted and lowered his eyes. Ma Xiaotao glared at Huo Yuhao with her watery phoenix eyes and said angrily, "Follow me." That she found a direction in the inner courtyard and swam towards it. Huo Yuhao also followed Ma Xiaotao closely, but his cultivation was not as good as Ma Xiaotao's, and his swimming ability was not as good as hers. After a while, he could only see the girl's figure turning into a small red. When Huo Yuhao caught up with Ma Xiaotao panting, he saw the girl sitting on the shore looking at him with a smile. "Follow me." The girl once again took the lead and galloped forward, but her speed was not fast, and Huo Yuhao managed to catch up. After a while, the two arrived at a small courtyard of a single-family house, and Ma Xiaotao led Huo Yuhao to a 30-square-meter living room. Huo Yuhao looked around and found that the room was spacious and bright, and the most eye-catching thing was the red decoration. The floor was made of mahogany, the dark red wardrobe and tables and chairs, and a big red bed. The room looked a bit messy, with black and red stockings and other clothes scattered everywhere. Huo Yuhao glanced at Ma Xiaotao in surprise. Ma Xiaotao remained calm and carelessly put the messy clothes into the soul guide. If it weren't for the fact that her hands moved so fast that Huo Yuhao could hardly see clearly, he would really think that the girl didn't pay much attention to these small details. "You go out first, I want to change clothes," Ma Xiaotao said with a rosy cheek, but in a cold tone. Huo Yuhao ignored Ma Xiaotao's threatening gaze, embraced the beautiful woman's plump figure, sat on the soft bed, and whispered, "You are cold all over, let me warm you up first." Ma Xiaotao pushed lightly with her bare hands, struggling slightly. Her narrow and long phoenix eyes were filled with annoyance, and she said coldly, "I need you to warm me up. If you dare to mess around today, I will throw you into the sea god lake and let you warm the lake water for a whole day." She and Huo Yuhao came to date and cultivate their relationship today, not to have a party. Huo Yuhao mobilized his soul power, gathered it in his hands, and gently helped Ma Xiaotao deal with the wet and uncomfortable clothes and water stains, and said softly, "It was cold in the morning, and falling into the lake would cause the cold air to enter your body, which is not good for your health. I will use my soul power to warm you up." Ma Xiaotao glanced sideways at Huo Yuhao, wanting to say that she had already used her soul power to warm him up and did a better job than him, but feeling the young man's tenderness, a warm current surged in her heart. The frost in her cold phoenix eyes melted away, her jade arms wrapped around Huo Yuhao, her head rested lightly on the young man's shoulder, and she asked softly, "What's going on with your body? Why do you get that weird feeling when I touch it?" Huo Yuhao did not answer, but carefully used his soul power to warm the girl's body through her clothes. Ma Xiaotao's body softened, and she gave Huo Yuhao a fierce look with her eyebrows raised. Huo Yuhao's hand inside the lapel of his clothes was glowing with gleaming white light, and he was still using his soul power to help Ma Xiaotao moisturize her body. "Sister Xiaotao, there are too many body fats in some places, and it's not good to keep your body moist through clothes," Huo Yuhao explained in a warm voice. "Besides, doesn't Sister Xiaotao want to know what's going on with me?" "Well, that's what's going on." Ma Xiaotao bit her red lips tightly and refused to speak too much. If there was evil fire that helped her build a layer of armor a few days ago so that she could barely deal with the succubus body, without evil fire today, she would be slightly stronger than Wang Dong'er, Tangya, Zhou Yi, and the like. Huo Yuhao continued, "Maybe it's a problem with my martial spirit. I'm not sure what's going on. When I come into contact with the opposite sex, they all have the same reaction as you, Sister Xiaotao. Maybe it's because my martial spirit hasn't fully awakened." Chapter 65 Ma Xiaotao, Why is your martial spirit so evil? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Huo Yuhao and Ma Xiaotao lay down on the big soft bed, staring at the charming girl. Her eyes were closed tightly, her long eyelashes were trembling, she was biting her red lips without saying a word, only her beautiful nose occasionally let out a muffled groan. "I almost forgot, Sister Xiaotao, you can't speak." Huo Yuhao understood, and immediately started the sharing of mental detection, and said softly, "Sister Xiaotao, you can use your mental power to talk to me now." This technique was developed when he bullied Wang Dong'er. The girl's kiss lasted for a long time. Although Huo Yuhao thought the appearance was very attractive, it would be even better if he could tease the shameful girl with words during the process, so a new use of mental detection sharing came into being. Now that the skills honed on her are being used on Ma Xiaotao, Wang Dong won't be angry if he finds out, right? You bastard! Ma Xiaotao said angrily. What you just said was just to warm her up, but you ended up being so warm. Huo Yuhao chuckled, this is also a kind of emotional communication. Ma Xiaotao snorted coldly and buried her head under the red quilt. The picture being shared during the mental detection made her feel ashamed, so she closed her eyes and could still see her amorous feelings that made her feel ashamed. After a long time, he asked, is your martial spirit always so evil? Then it would be embarrassing for me to hold hands with him from now on. Huo Yuhao paused, thinking for a moment, and then said, no, I can feel that I am slowly controlling this power, and every time I come into contact with a new woman, my control of this ability will increase a lot. The martial soul and I are also connected to each other. As long as I come into contact with another soul sect, a soul king, and a soul saint, I will be able to completely control this ability, and the martial soul will be fully awakened. Humph, what kind of evil martial spirit are you? If you hadn't absorbed the life force and soul for cultivation, your martial spirit would be completely an evil martial spirit. Even if it was a mental sound transmission, Ma Xiaotao's voice at this time he sounded a bit trembling with ups and downs, and asked, after fully awakening, is your martial spirit considered the second awakening of the original martial spirit? Huo Yuhao shook his head. To be honest, he didn't know what would happen after the succubus body and the spiritual eyes were completely combined. But for now, his mental power was very charming, and he would have to add a soul ring in the future. A skill similar to charm, wouldn't it be impossible for a soul skill to make the enemy turn against him? However, he is a man with the charm soul skill. He is afraid that if he tells it, it will make people laugh to death. If he becomes a god in the future, it will become a black history that will be passed down for thousands of years. Huo Yuhao said, I don't know either. I will know when I fully awaken. Ma Xiaotao's skin was rosy, and she said angrily, so you still want to use your ability to contact a soul sect, a soul king, and a soul saint? You are not afraid of being beaten to death. Huo Yuhao said, isn't this the inner courtyard? Those seniors won't beat me to death, right? Ma Xiaotao clenched her slender hands tightly, and the red sheet was heavily wrinkled by her. She raised her eyebrows and said coldly, so the purpose of your coming to the inner courtyard today is to get in touch with those senior sisters. I want to see if you can beat them to death. Huo Yuhao leaned over and whispered, of course I came to the inner courtyard for you, senior sister. This matter is just incidental. It doesn't matter even if I can't finish it. I just want to be happy with senior sister today. I still want to tell you about this matter. My secret, senior. Others only know that I have this strange ability, but only my senior knows that contact with others can improve control. Ma Xiaotao snorted coldly, frowned and said nothing. It was almost noon when Ma Xiaotao recovered and changed into a red sweatshirt, which made her look as plump and moist as Taoyao. The delicate jade face like a peach core was covered with frost, but the increasingly moist phoenix eyes were like ice. They stared at Huo Yuhao coldly for a long time, and then coldly hummed, follow me, I will take you to the cafeteria. I want to see how you get in touch with those stinky bitches. When the time comes, I won't save you if you are beaten to death. Huo Yuhao followed Ma Xiaotao with a slight smile and said nothing. I sighed in my heart that there are so many Tsundra girls in this Douluo world. Wang Dong'er is one, and Ma Xiaotao also has this tendency. The cafeteria in the inner courtyard is much better than the cafeteria in the outer courtyard. At least there are tables and chairs for students to sit down and eat. Looking at the dishes on the menu, there are many good ones, but the worst ones are the century-old soul beast meat. Eating in the inner courtyard cafeteria requires points instead of gold soul coins. These points can only be obtained by students who complete tasks and contribute to the academy. Of course, they can also be exchanged for gold soul coins, but it is a big loss. Handing the menu to the front desk staff, Huo Yuhao followed Ma Xiaotao into the cafeteria. From a distance, he saw teacher Ji Wei wearing a white chef's hat in the back kitchen. Standing with him was a beautiful woman in her 30s. They pointed out the other chefs in the back kitchen. Teacher Jiwei. Huo Yuhao went over and greeted him. Surprise flashed across Ma Xiaotao's beautiful eyes. Do you still know Teacher Jiwei? Huo Yuhao explained. Teacher Jiwei and I met at Shrek Hotel. And I can also cook. You must try it someday. Ma Xiaotao nodded slightly, her peach-colored phoenix eyes returned to coldness, but her thoughts were swirling in her heart. She can also cook, and she controls the heat very well. Would you like to cook it for him to try? The scene of two people cooking together seems to be quite warm and sweet. Jiwei turned around and saw Huo Yuhao, with a look of surprise on his face, and then said with a gentle smile, Xiao Yuhao, have you come to the inner courtyard? The beautiful woman next to Jiwei looked at Huo Yuhao curiously and said with a smile, are you the Huo Yuhao that Jiwei mentioned? I heard that you rejected Jiwei's request to accept you as a disciple. You have good taste. Do you want to become my apprentice? My sister is better than Jiwei in cooking, better than Teacher Jiwei. Isn't Teacher Jiwei the best chef in the inner courtyard? Huo Yuhao asked in confusion, Sister, who are you? My name is Xiao Xiao, and I am the best nutritionist in the inner courtyard. The beautiful woman introduced herself with her chest puffed out proudly, causing a surge of waves. Jiwei glanced at Xiao Xiao and said to Huo Yuhao unhappily, Yuhao, don't pay attention to her. She is the kind of person who can make top-grade ingredients so delicious that even pigs don't want to eat them. We are not the same as her. Jiwei, fuck your uncle. I did that to fully utilize the nutrition of the ingredients. The beautiful woman, who was originally gentle in temperament, suddenly burst into swear words, leaving Huo Yuhao dumbfounded. Anyway, I poured the nutritious meal you prepared to the pigs in the beast fighting area, but they didn't even smell it. Jiwei, who was originally elegant and easygoing, also turned into a poisonous tongue. Xiao Xiao was so angry that her face turned red. After a long time, she said, anyway, your way of doing things is to destroy the original nutrition of the ingredients, which is a serious waste of ingredients. Huo Yuhao was happy to eat melons and watch the ideological dispute between the two teachers. Ma Xiaotao explained to Huo Yuhao in a low voice, Teacher Jiwei's soul skills are attached to food. The more delicious the food, the better the auxiliary effect. As a result, once it was attached to the food made by Teacher Xiao Xiao, it actually had a negative effect when others ate it. It was at that time that Teacher Jiwei realized that his martial soul attached to unpalatable food could have negative effects. Teacher Xiao Xiao also had a grudge with Teacher Jiwei at that time. Since then, the two have been at odds and often quarreled. Chapter 66, Seniors in the Inner Courtyard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The final quarrel between the two resulted in Xiao Xiao getting angry because the students in the inner courtyard still preferred what Jiwei made. That's funny. Jiwei regained his elegant and easygoing smile. Since Yuhao has come to the inner courtyard, let me check your progress during this period. Yes. Huo Yuhao nodded. He moved his gaze to Ma Xiaotao and said warmly, Sister Xiaotao, please wait a moment. I'll ask you to try my craftsmanship. Ma Xiaotao nodded lightly, turned around and found a seat in the cafeteria to sit down. Xiaotao, who was that little brother just now? It seems that you two are quite close. The visitor was a young man under 20 years old. He walked to Ma Xiaotao diagonally and sat down diagonally opposite, winking at her. There was curiosity in his eyes. Gonyang Mo, stay away from me, right now. Ma Xiaotao's eyes showed disgust. Gonyang Mo was not angry and moved a few places away from her with a smile. At this time, two figures came to sit next to Ma Xiaotao one after another. The first one was tall, with a beautiful face, gentle and graceful, and had the temperament of a big sister. With curiosity in her tone, she asked, Xiaotao, isn't that your boyfriend? The girl who was lagging behind had red hair and was dressed in red like Ma Xiaotao. She looked to be in her mid-20s and her appearance was very beautiful. Although not as beautiful as Ma Xiaotao, she could still be called a beauty. Say. Before he even sat down, he let out a laugh like a silver bell and said, I used to think that Sister Ruoruo liked Xiao Jingtai. but I didn't expect that Xiaotao, you were one step ahead and had already taken advantage of her." That the woman's words focused the attention of all the inner courtyard students in the cafeteria on Ma Xiaotao and Han Ruoruo, causing a burst of laughter. "Ming'er, do you want to die?" Han Ruoruo said coquettishly in embarrassment. Ma Xiaotao blushed, but she still openly admitted that Huo Yuhao was her boyfriend, which immediately surprised the melon-eating students in the cafeteria. They really didn't expect that Ma Xiaotao, who was known as the active volcano in the inner courtyard and had a proud heart, would actually fall in love with such a young junior. Sure enough, people cannot be judged by their appearance. Wu Ming was also stunned and froze in place like a log. She was just teasing, but in the end, "Are you serious, sister?" Han Ruoruo opened her mouth in surprise, her apricot eyes flashed, showing curiosity, and asked, "Xiaotao, please introduce us to your wishful husband." Facing the gazes gathered from all directions, Ma Xiaotao couldn't help but feel shy inside, and hesitantly said, "His name is Huo Yuhao, you can investigate the rest by yourselves." "Huo Yuhao? I think I've heard of him." A woman in the corner whispered. "Her appearance is very ordinary, her figure is also very ordinary, as if she has no characteristics, and she cannot leave any impression on others. If she didn't make a sound, no one would even notice she was there." "Cici. Tell us quickly." Wu Ming said impatiently, his eyes sparkling like a kitten seeing a ball of wool. Cici said softly, "I heard an interesting story from the students in the outer college. I heard that this junior Huo Yuhao is a first-year student, and he seems to have used a special method to defeat his class teacher, Teacher Zhou Yi. I don't know if the news is true or false." "First-year student? Defeat Zhou Yi?" Some people were surprised, while others looked at Ma Xiaotao with strange eyes. After all, first-year students are still too young, right? On the other side, Huo Yuhao had already prepared several dishes. Ji Wei reviewed them one by one and said, "Judging from the cooking techniques, your cooking is very delicate and delicate. I can no longer teach you the skills. As the saying goes, those who learn from me live, and those who imitate me die. Next, you have to understand your own skills." "My own skills?" Huo Yuhao wondered. Ji Wei smiled and nodded, "Yes, you have to understand your own meaning and heart. Only then will the dishes you cook in this way be filled with your emotions and your perceptions. When others taste your dishes, they will not just taste them. It's about taste, it's about savoring your mood and perception." "How should I feel about it?" Huo Yuhao asked. Ji Wei smiled and said, "The knife has the intention of the sword has the intention of the sword, and the way of cooking naturally also has the intention of cooking. You just need to follow your mood about the way of cooking to understand it. The intention of cooking is not the same as the intention of the sword or the intention of the sword. To make people stronger, its purpose is just to let a chef's emotional experience be expressed in the meal." Huo Yuhao nodded thoughtfully. Ji Wei said gently, "Go and enjoy lunch with your girlfriend. I've also prepared a dragon and phoenix dish for you. It's a little bit of my appreciation." "Thank you, Teacher Ji Wei," Huo Yuhao said shyly. After taking 2 steps, he turned back and said, "Teacher Ji Wei, can I do you a favor?" "Huh? You say?" "Teacher, can you recommend me a teacher from the Soul Guidance Department?" Huo Yuhao asked. In fact, he could go directly to the Soul Guidance Department, but after dealing with Zhou Yi once, he didn't know if Fan Yu would slip him up. In order to avoid trouble, it would be better to just ask Teacher Ji Wei for help. "You want to learn soul guidance?" Ji Wei was a little surprised. "Yes." Ji Wei frowned and said warmly, "I can help you introduce it. It's just that people's energy is limited. If you want to climb to the top, you must focus on the one and only. Wait until you reach the pinnacle of the Soul Master field and reach your limit, then you can develop. It won't be too late in other areas." Huo Yuhao nodded and said, "I understand. I won't study the Soul Guide in depth. I just have some ideas that I want to make." Huo Yuhao did not intend to study Soul Guides in depth. After all, the Soul Guides of the Dou period were too backward and posed no threat to the gods. He just wanted to make some auxiliary tools like cameras and remote communications. His foundation is various superpowers and cultivation. Maybe he would study soul guides in depth if his superpowers are related to the study of soul guides, Ji Wei said. Come to the cafeteria to find me in the evening. Thank you, Teacher Ji Wei. Huo Yuhao thanked happily. Huo Yuhao walked out of the kitchen and saw two beautiful women sitting next to Ma Xiaotao. Huo Yuhao walked over and sat next to Ma Xiaotao, saying, "Hello, two senior sisters." The red-haired woman looked curious. She was the most impatient and asked first, "Hello, junior brother, are you Xiaotao's boyfriend? Can you tell me how Xiaotao tricked you into it?" That's right. Wu Ming felt that with Ma Xiaotao's strong personality, she must have pursued Huo Yuhao, and maybe she had forced herself on him. It's not like no one in the inner courtyard had pursued Ma Xiaotao before, but they were all beaten black and blue. With my cultivation, if I pursued Ma Xiaotao first, I might be beaten so badly that I'm still lying in bed. How could they be together? Ma Xiaotao glanced at Wu Ming with her bright eyes. What was she saying? It was obvious that she was the one who was deceived. Han Ruoruo said softly, "Ming'er, don't make trouble. Don't scare me." Chapter 67 Han Ruoruo helps. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Han Ruoruo's eyes were apologetic, and a faint smile appeared on her pretty face, exuding a gentle and peaceful aura. She said softly, "Junior brother, Ming'er is being abrupt. My name is Han Ruoruo. You can call me senior sister Han or sister Ruoruo like Xiaotao." Han Ruoruo turned her gaze to Wu Ming and continued to introduce, "This is Wu Ming, you can call her senior sister Ming. Her personality is somewhat similar to Xiaotao, she is more impatient and has a hot temper. However, she is enthusiastic, helpful. You can ask her for help with anything, I believe Ming'er won't refuse." Wu Ming said with a smile, "As long as you tell me how Xiaotao deceived you, little brother, I can help you with anything." Ma Xiaotao's face showed a look of shame and annoyance, and said angrily, "Sister Ming'er, if you keep talking nonsense, I will have to say something else." Huo Yuhao raised his eyes and looked at the two women, with curiosity in his eyes, and said with a smile, "It turns out to be senior sister Ruoruo and senior sister Ming. My name is Huo Yuhao, and I have met these two senior sisters." Both senior sisters were chased by a group of students from the outer courtyard. Target, I am no exception. He had an impression of both Han Ruoruo and Wu Ming. Han Ruoruo was less than 30 years old at this time. She had participated in the continent-wide Soul Master Academy competition with Zhang Lishuan, and was now a contra-level powerhouse. In the original work, she and teacher Wang Yan came together at the Poseidon Fate Blind Date Conference. Now that he has traveled through time, he wonders if his fate has changed. Wu Ming is also about 30 years old. She has a martial spirit called Golden Crow and is called the Golden Crow Saint by the students in the inner courtyard. Of course, because of her fiery temperament, she is both a saint and a leftover girl. I just happened to make some dishes myself, and teacher Ji Wei sent me a dish for the two seniors to try. Huo Yuhao said as he took out various dishes from the soul guide and arranged them. Of course, the auspicious dragon and phoenix presented by teacher Ji Wei are also indispensable. The aroma filled the air, the whole dining table was filled with light, and several people were eating with chopsticks. The smooth and tender meat entered the cherry lips. Han Ruoruo's eyes were filled with surprise. She smiled lightly and said, "I didn't expect that Junior Yuhao's cooking skills are so good. Xiaotao is lucky." Ma Xiaotao's beautiful eyes flashed, and she was a little surprised. Although Huo Yuhao had said he was good at cooking before, she didn't expect him to be so good. Although he is not as good as teacher Ji Wei, he is worse than other teachers in the inner courtyard. Furthermore, although teacher Ji Wei has done a good job, he now mostly instructs other food department soul masters and rarely cooks himself. Students like them would have to spend a lot of points if they want to eat the dishes made by Ji Wei. Wu Ming teased and said, "Xiaotao, my junior is very good at cooking. You can't keep it secret. You should bring it to the inner courtyard more often in the future." Ma Xiaotao glanced at Wu Ming, her mind wandering. thinking of the martial soul issue that Huo Yuhao mentioned before, she snorted at Huo Yuhao in her heart. He said to Wu Ming, "You want to eat? It's not impossible if you want to eat. As long as you are willing to do him a favor, I believe he is willing to be your cook for a while." Wu Ming looked at Huo Yuhao curiously and asked, "Junior brother, what help do you need from your senior sister?" That when Huo Yuhao heard Ma Xiaotao's words, he looked at her strangely and felt a little emotional in his heart. Sister Xiaotao was indeed hard-spoken and soft-hearted. This helped him solve the problem of contacting the soul saint. Huo Yuhao turned to Wu Ming and replied, "That's right, senior sister Wu, my martial soul has not been fully awakened. I still need to contact a soul saint, a soul king, and a soul sect to fully awaken." "Is that it? I thought it was a favor. Now I can help. My junior brother has to cook me more delicious meals." As he said that, Wu Ming pinched Huo Yuhao's cheek with his delicate hand. Huo Yuhao quickly dodged away and said hurriedly, "Senior sister Wu, please say goodbye for now. My martial spirit is somewhat special. If you come into contact with it rashly, it will cause some inconvenience to you." Wu Ming didn't take it seriously and said, "What's the inconvenience?" "Sister, I'm the soul saint." Han Ruoruo pressed Wu Ming's shoulder, pushed it back, and then said with a smile, "Your martial spirit is quite strange. It actually requires contact with other soul masters to fully awaken. I wonder if I, my junior, can tell me your martial spirit. What is it, and what is the impact of contact with others?" Huo Yuhao whispered, "Of course you can tell Sister Ruoruo. My martial soul is the original martial soul. As for the influence, it actually only affects soul masters of the opposite sex. Contact with me will make their bodies weak and unable to use their strength for a period of time. It will take about half an hour to recover." Huo Yuhao didn't explain the real effect. He was afraid that Wu Ming would never want to have contact with him. "Anyway, let's make contact first. As for whether they will be beaten later, they can only run away before they recover." Han Ruoruo showed a look of surprise on her face and said, "I didn't expect that in just one day, my disciple, you would surprise me a lot. Your martial spirit turned out to be the original martial spirit. I don't know much about the original martial spirit. I don't know if this situation is normal. As Xiaotao's boyfriend, this is your first time in the inner courtyard. I should have prepared a gift for you. Just in time, I will help you contact a soul king and a soul sect. As for the soul saint, leave it to Ming." Huo Yuhao was overjoyed and quickly thanked him. Han Ruoruo said softly, "Junior Yuhao can cook a few more times for me and Ming'er to taste." Ma Xiaotao remained silent after mentioning the need to help just now, watching Huo Yuhao's performance with cold eyes. After hearing that Huo Yuhao was vague about the actual effect of the succubus body, she glanced at him sideways, and then started eating her own food. After eating, Ma Xiaotao and Huo Yuhao said goodbye to Han Ruoruo Wu Ming. As for helping Huo Yuhao find someone, Han Ruoruo could just ask him to wait for them in Ma Xiaotao's dormitory before dinner. In the afternoon, Ma Xiaotao took Huo Yuhao to visit the inner courtyard. She told him some stories about her life in the inner courtyard in a disjointed manner. Huo Yuhao also picked out some stories about his past. Huo Yuhao could clearly feel that the girl was much gentler, not as strong as before, and he also let himself do some intimate actions. When the two returned to the small courtyard where Ma Xiaotao's dormitory was located, they found that Han Ruoruo and the others were already sitting on the stone table in the small courtyard waiting. In addition to Wu Ming, there were two male students with Han Ruoruo, male students. One of them stood coldly and said nothing, while another male student leaned against the wall gracefully. His charming posture made Huo Yuhao dare not assume his gender. "Sister Ruoruo, I'm sorry to have kept everyone waiting for so long." Huo Yuhao said immediately. Han Ruoruo saw Huo Yuhao and Ma Xiaotao holding their fingers tightly together. When Ma Xiaotao saw them, her pretty face turned red, and her silk-gloved hands struggled slightly, but Huo Yuhao held them tightly. Seeing the interaction between the two, she smiled and said, "You two can walk around more. We can wait a little longer. After all, it's rare to see Xiaotao so weak and shy." Ma Xiaotao finally struggled to break free from Huo Yuhao, and her beautiful eyes regained their coldness as she stood aside. Han Ruoruo introduced the other two to Huo Yuhao one by one. Let me introduce you. This is Su Bei, who was admitted to the inner courtyard last year. This is Gong Yangmo. They all volunteered to help you after hearing about your situation. Huo Yuhao greeted them warmly. Hello, seniors. Su Bei nodded coldly. Gong Yangmo smiled gently and said softly, hello, junior brother. Han Ruoruo saw that the few people knew each other, so she asked, who will come first? The next chapter is under review. I checked it and there should be no illegal content. Chapter 68 Solidification Mission completed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Huo Yuhao felt that he was a good person and could not trick someone who wanted to help him kindly for no reason. Fortunately, Gong Yangma said that even if he changed his orientation after contacting him, he would be led to the right path, which was considered as a good deed every day. But this senior from North Jiangsu, he really couldn't bear to trick him. Huo Yuhao felt uneasy with his conscience when he thought that such an enthusiastic senior would have to go astray in the future just because of these 30 seconds. Huo Yuhao secretly gritted his teeth, his heart pounding, and he said to Han Ruoruo, let's let senior Su Bei try it first. In order to avoid being condemned by his conscience, Huo Yuhao had no choice but to cut the knot quickly. He stretched out his hand, his eyes full of sincere gratitude, and even Su Bei, who had always been cold, was a little moved. This junior is truly a grateful person. Su Bei solemnly stretched out his hand and held Huo Yuhao's hand. This moment seemed like eternity. 30 seconds flashed by, and Huo Yuhao, who received the reminder, broke away from Su Bei. He secretly observed Su Bei and found that he had not changed much, and he felt relieved. He is a good person, and he still feels that he will not cheat those who are willing to help him if they can. Han Ruoruo and the others looked at Huo Yuhao curiously, their eyes moved, and asked, is this good? Yeah. Huo Yuhao nodded. He thanked Su Bei with a smile on his face. Su Bei's cold expression melted a lot, and he nodded and said, you're welcome, this junior. Then he said goodbye to several people. Seniors and seniors, I'm leaving first. Han Ruoruo and others watched him leave, then turned their attention to Huo Yuhao and Gong Yangmo. Gong Yangmo came to Huo Yuhao's side and said with a sweet smile, junior brother, let's start quickly. Senior, I have been waiting for this moment for a long time. As he spoke, Gong Yangmo slowly stretched out his right hand, palm down, like a princess waiting for a knight. The corner of Huo Yuhao's mouth twitched. He always felt that if he held Gong Yangmo's hand, his innocence would be wiped out. During the hesitation, Ma Xiaotao's cold voice came, Gong Yangmo, please be normal or else I will send you to the medical room. Gong Yangmo smiled and said nothing, but still adjusted his posture to a normal handshake. Huo Yuhao then shook hands with Gong Yangmo. 30 seconds later, he quickly broke away from Gong Yangmo's hand. As for whether Gong Yangmo changed his orientation, he no longer cared. Wu Ming was very happy to see it, and Han Ruoruo also had a smile on her lips. Gong Yangmo became more serious at this time. He said goodbye to a few people and left in a hurry. He always felt that something had changed in him, but the specifics were so mysterious that he couldn't tell. Wu Ming said loudly, it's finally my turn, sister. I want to see if what you said will make the opposite sex weak will work on me. Ma Xiaotao was watching the show with a sneer on the side, while Han Ruoruo was also using her mental power, preparing to take a good look. This was the first time she encountered a martial spirit in such a special situation. Moreover, maybe Huo Yuhao was awakening his martial spirit for the second time. She had to keep a record. This was also a precious piece of information for the academy. Huo Yuhao gently held Wu Ming's delicate hand. For just a moment, Wu Ming felt as if there was a raging fire burning in his body. Hot and refreshing, melodious and charming moan came out of her throat unconsciously. This weird feeling made her want to break away from Huo Yuhao, but she had no strength at this time. How could she break away? Han Ruoruo was shocked and stared at Wu Ming's appearance with her clear and tranquil eyes wide open. Wu Ming's gentle cry and the charming look in his eyes made her lose her mind for a moment. The gentle and peaceful temperament in the past was gone at this moment. Although she had never seen a similar scene with her own eyes, she still realized what Wu Ming was in at the moment. when Wu Ming couldn't hold on anymore and was about to collapse, Ma Xiaotao rushed to her side and helped Wu Ming. Ma Xiaotao's charming and narrow phoenix eyes held a dangerous look as she stared at Huo Yuhao coldly. Huo Yuhao showed an innocent expression. Finally, Han Ruoruo came to her senses, and with a flash of her hand, a golden rope wrapped around Wu Ming, trying to pull Wu Ming away. Huo Yuhao also let go of his hand and hurriedly sat cross-legged on the ground. At this moment, the solidification task of the succubus body has been completed. At this time, earth-shaking changes were taking place in his body. Endless pink air flow emerged from all over the body, tempering every inch of his skin, from the outside to the inside, and gradually penetrated into the 5 internal organs, lungs, bone marrow and dantian. A soft and lingering feeling lingers throughout the body, like silk gauze brushing against the skin. At the same time, the pink air flow slowly gathered on his eyes, and he felt a warmth in his Wuhuan soul eyes, as if they were soaked in warm water. Huo Yuhao's consciousness has reached the spiritual sea. At this time, the spiritual sea has turned into a pink ocean, and a pink mist floats mistily on the sea, looking like a dream, beautiful and mysterious, exuding a dangerous aura that confuses people's minds. Huo Yuhao's thoughts changed, and the pink ocean changed into pure light gold, as if the pink ocean just now was a dream. Huo Yuhao tried again to turn half of the spiritual sea into a gorgeous pink color, and the other half into pure pale gold. 2 waters of different colors merge into the same sea. Huo Yuhao's fingertips circulated, and the light golden spiritual power gradually changed from shallow to deep, then turned into pink, and then faded away from the pink bit by bit, returning to light gold. Huo Yuhao was filled with joy. After the succubus body solidified, he could not only turn off this ability at any time, but also control the strength of the charm. The succubus body has completely become a controllable ability. At this time, outside, Han Ruoruo's pretty face was covered with frost, staring at Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao's behavior was already considered to be a bad intention. Although it seemed that Wu Ming didn't take any advantage, could a girl's demeanor at that time be shown to others casually? She wanted to teach this junior a lesson, but seeing Huo Yuhao sitting cross-legged on the ground with a gorgeous pink energy flowing on his body, she didn't take action immediately and decided to wait until he woke up to let him know how powerful she was. Han Ruoruo carefully checked Wu Ming's condition and found that except for a little excitement and a little sweating, there was nothing wrong. Only then did she breathe a sigh of relief. With a blushing face, Han Ruoruo turned her eyes to Ma Xiaotao and asked coldly, "Xiaotao, you knew that this kind of thing would happen when you contacted him, right?" Ma Xiaotao nodded lightly. "Then why didn't you remind Ming'er?" Han Ruoruo questioned. Ma Xiaotao chuckled and explained, "Sister Ruoruo, don't be angry. Look, although Sister Ming'er seems to have suffered a loss, in fact, the 2 of them just shook hands. As her girlfriend, I am not jealous, so don't be angry. The most important thing is that Sister Ming'er is old, and she can't be single forever, right? Let Xiao Yuhao use this ability to stimulate her, maybe she will be moved and want to find a partner." Han Ruoruo frowned. Wu Ming had indeed reached the time to find a partner a long time ago, but this girl had never planned to do so, and her fiery personality also discouraged male students. She and senior sister Zhang Lishuan decided that if she didn't find a partner at the next See God Fate blind date meeting, they would bet that she would be with the male student who lifted her veil. This kind of stimulation may also be a way. Han Ruoruo showed a helpless look on her face and said, "Xiaotao, you convinced me. But next time, if you have such a plan, you must tell me clearly." Ma Xiaotao nodded in agreement. He turned his gaze towards Huo Yuhao again. What caught his eyes was the hazy pink mist, in the center of which a figure could be vaguely seen sitting cross-legged. The pink mist was barely detectable in the air. Han Ruoruo and Ma Xiaotao used their mental power to carefully observe the changes in Huo Yuhao's body. His physical fitness is improving, and his mental power is also very active. Han Ruoruo frowned and gently unbuttoned his shirt, revealing a large area of smooth, white skin. I wonder what changes have occurred to his martial soul. Ma Xiaotao felt a little restless, just like the feeling when the evil fire erupted in the past. Time passed slowly, and Wu Ming, who was dizzy, murmured delicately, "Not good." Ma Xiaotao saw the 2 people who had fallen into a daze, and she felt bad in her heart. She was afraid that the pink mist could be aphrodisiac. She felt a little annoyed. She should have thought of this earlier, but now even she was caught. After glaring at Huo Yuhao angrily, Ma Xiaotao, who was about to lose consciousness, immediately moved Han Ruoruo and Wu Ming to her room, and the last bit of her consciousness disappeared. Chapter 70 Xian Lin'er wants to accept a disciple. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tell me why you want to learn soul tools. Xian Lin'er's cold and ethereal voice was without a trace of emotion. I have some ideas in my mind and want to make them. Huo Yuhao said. Just that. That's all. Then you shouldn't waste time learning soul guidance tools. The soul guidance system is not suitable for you. Xian Lin'er's cold voice pronounced Huo Yuhao's soul guidance device learning a death sentence. She hoped that more people in Shrek Academy would learn soul tools, but she didn't like those who made this decision haphazardly. When the time comes, 3 days of fishing and 2 days of drying nets will only be a waste of soul guidance system resources. Huo Yuhao's face turned serious and he said, Can the student ask the dean a few questions? Xian Lin'er nodded. In the dean's opinion, what kind of talents are suitable to learn how to make soul tools? Huo Yuhao asked. Of course it's someone who loves soul guides. Why are people who love soul guidance tools suitable for learning soul guidance tools? Boy, the learning process of soul guidance tools is boring. If you want to master soul guidance tools, you need to spend a long time, endless energy, full devotion, and consistent persistence. Do you think that a person who does not love can you do this? Xian Lin'er's blue eyes were as clear as a clear saltwater lake, reflecting Huo Yuhao's figure. Huo Yuhao said, according to the dean, the soul guide device learning requires more concentration, investment, and persistence, rather than love, right? Love is just a condition deduced by the dean based on these. Xian Lin'er crossed her fingers in front of her, resting her straight chin on her white fingers. There was a smile without any warmth at the corner of her mouth, and she stared at Huo Yuhao coldly across the silver-white experimental table. So, you think you can do this without love? Huo Yuhao shook his head. It's not what I think, it's just the fact. Ha, I want to see where you come from. Xian Lin'er sneered. Huo Yuhao asked, Does the dean love soul guides? Of course. Xian Lin'er said, otherwise she wouldn't have become the dean of the soul guidance department. Huo Yuhao asked with a smile, then why didn't the dean become a 9th-level soul engineer? Is it because you don't love him enough? Huo Yuhao did not say the latter sentence because he was afraid of being beaten to death. Huo Yuhao's sarcastic questions echoed in Xian Lin'er's mind, and her flawless face turned red for a moment, whether from embarrassment or annoyance. Why didn't you become a 9th-level soul engineer? Did she not want to? She can't do it. In other words, it is because Shrek and the 3 original Douluo continent countries do not have the soil to cultivate a 9th-level soul master. Xian Lin'er straightened her body, slammed her slender hand on the experimental table, and left a palm print on the silver-white metal tabletop. Sharp-tongued, her eyes were as cold as a pool of clear water, and she stared at Huo Yuhao sharply. Huo Yuhao's expression remained unchanged, and Xian Lin'er's Lingran aura seemed to have no effect on him. So, having love alone is not enough to become a 9th-level soul master. There are many 9th-level soul masters in the Sun and Moon Empire, and there are also more 8th-level soul masters. Is it because those 9th-level soul masters are better than those 8th-level soul masters? Do you love the 9th-level soul master who became a soul guide more? Obviously not. The 8th-level soul master Xian Ziwen in the original book resolutely left the Sun and Moon Empire that trained him for the soul guide. Doesn't he love the soul guide enough? Not all 9th-level soul engineers love soul guidance tools. The fact that most people have such high attainments in soul guidance tools is due to many reasons such as talent, living environment, nurture, and personal efforts. In the final analysis, soul masters are just a profession. Not everyone in the Sun Moon Empire chooses to become soul masters because they love the profession of soul masters. Don't they want to become powerful soul masters who can crush their peers? Just like the soul masters who have come out of our academy. They want to, but they have no choice. Just like Dean, you also want to become a 9th-level soul engineer, but isn't there no way around it? Huo Yuhao paused and concluded, to become a powerful soul mentor. Love or not is only a secondary condition. Training, hard work, talent, and creative ideas are the more important conditions. Xian Lin'er's heart was shaken, and her face as bright as the moon was silent for a moment. She had to admit that what this somewhat arrogant young man said made sense, but she still didn't want to be his soul guide's teacher, although he was right, who asked him to stab her heart again and again. She also has a temper. No, we have to find our place. Xian Lin'er had a pair of round jade legs crossed over each other, with her hands flat on them. Her posture was dignified, her aura was noble and cold, and she looked at Huo Yuhao coldly with a pair of eyes as clear as cold springs. Then you think you have these conditions? Training, hard work, talent, and creative ideas. What do you have? Those whimsical ideas, Huo Yuhao said. Am I not taking the test from you, Dean? If I pass the test, I can study with you. Although you may not be the best soul engineer in the soul guidance department, you are definitely the most powerful one. If you can, learning from you is the best training the academy can receive. Xian Lin'er's eyebrows stood up. What's this? What does it mean that she is the strongest soul engineer but not the best? Still want to learn from her? Humph, don't even think about it. Huo Yuhao continued, in terms of efforts, practical actions can only speak for themselves. As for ideas, no matter how whimsical they are, at least they are there. And I don't think my ideas are whimsical. He just wanted to make some gadgets to facilitate life. Cars, cameras, and remote communications are all possible. Some of them have even been realized in the Sun-Moon Empire. Only Shrek Academy and Douluo Three Kingdoms are ignorant and backward. As for talent, Dean, don't resist. I will show you my first soul skill. Huo Yuhao's spiritual eyes were possessed, his eyes were as bright as gems, a yellow soul ring was pulsating, and the spiritual detection sharing was activated. Xian Lin'er was stunned, and her blue eyes looked at Huo Yuhao blankly. She was completely immersed in the image shared by Huo Yuhao. First, everything within a radius of 1,000 meters came into her mind, and any details she wanted to see were clearly visible. Then the detection range began to change, extending in one direction, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, 4 kilometers, and she even saw fallen leaves 4 kilometers away. Then, the detection range suddenly shrank to the size of an office. During the detection, the experimental table in front of her was being analyzed layer by layer, and she could even see the soul guide core inside. After a long time, Xian Lin'er came back to her senses, clapped her hands on the experimental table, and left 2 more palm prints on it. She leaned forward and looked at Huo Yuhao with burning eyes. How about becoming my disciple, that we just listened to advice? Some book friend said that the heroine wanted Xian Lin'er, so we arranged it now.